3, 2, 1.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of Grok Talk, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, GraniteGrok.com. We are your feared extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from GraniteGrok.com.
Grok Talk.
All right, welcome back. Grok Talk. GraniteGrok.com. Coalition of New Hampshire Taxpayers. Visit them at cnht.org. Visit us at GraniteGrok.com. And, if you like this program, you can listen to the ones we've already done. There's a couple hundred of them. Spreaker, Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and a good number of them on YouTube. And the last couple are on Ustream. So, excuse me, you can catch up or check us out or do a search or, search Grok Talk and some name of some candidate or a person of interest and see if we have done an interview.
Because we have, in most cases.
We've done a lot of interviews. We're going to do another one right now. Joining us from just next door in the room behind me, Roger Wilkins from Citizens...
Concerned Veterans for America.
Concerned Veterans for America. I've been screwing that up all morning. I've been screwing that up all morning, and I don't know why. And I go to the events, I talk to you all the time, and I'm like, well, all of a sudden I got this problem with this Concerned Veterans for America thing. I think I even have T-shirts. I'm not sure that I got it at an event. So, and it says it right on there, Concerned Veterans for America. So
we have lots of stuff.
Lots of goodies, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
so
right.
Don't just go for the stuff, though, because there's a lot of important things going on. VA reform being one of them. And here's Don, who's working on his studio etiquette. That's okay. Skip does that. I do that. Mike does it. We all do it. Anyway.
Yeah, I got mine on mute this morning,
welcome,
so I can concentrate.
So, CVA, Veterans, and VA reform.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, Steve. You guys have probably heard about this issue, and I got to be honest with you, it's not that it was brought up in the last couple of years. I mean, the VA backlog has been something dogging the president since we first made noise about it publicly, and even before that. But it took an organization to form around, reformation at the VA, and that basically surrounds. The ball gets kicked off August 2013 with a press conference in front of the White House with our CEO, Pete Hegseth. And he had 26,000 names under a petition that he literally handed to the White House that day. And it was before my time opening up a New Hampshire chapter. We would open one up 6 months later in January. Understanding that New Hampshire veterans are a very strong concentration of our state, that we do have quite the political acumen, and at the end of the day, I think anybody who ignores New Hampshire on the national scene does it at his own peril. So the first things that organizations do, they definitely come on up here and they ask folks, if they want to organize, and that's what I started doing in actually December of 2013. We brought Lieutenant Colonel Steve Russell up to New Hampshire, and in essence, had him do the circuit. We had him on the radio. We had him with Jack Heath, and we had him meet with some activists that night. And in between, actually went to the civilian aid installment of Pete Burdett, who got installed to the Army Secretary of Defense. This is the New Hampshire aid, civilian aid. So. Steve saw the culture, of the SVAC, which is the State Veterans Advisory Committee, statute authority, which is different from most states. Most states have a Veterans Department of Affairs. We have a citizen body that is made up of the VSO representatives, and they advise the governor and those from the legislature who are seeking counsel from veterans. So it does go with the grain of us having a very, very citizen-run legislature, citizen-run government. So that's where the ball gets kicked off with CVA here in New Hampshire. Apologies taking so long to get on the show. However, I do think there's a reason to it. My reputation out there is that I'm a guy who hits the ground and I run. And what I had to do before I come on to any radio show is I have to make sure that we have a campaign up and running, and we have support in the state, and we have momentum. So we have a lot to talk about today, about what New Hampshire has contributed to the dialogue. And but I do have some statistics that I want to share with everybody here.
Yeah, and isn't it the case that it wasn't just that some veterans were dying, more than a few, waiting for treatment, but going back to basics, you mentioned the bureaucracy and the ineptitude. It takes forever simply to get signed up for benefits.
Yeah, well, to get the approval, right?
Yeah.
So if it's akin to picking up the phone and asking if you can see your doctor. That's all laid out when you sign up for the plan. You select your doctor, and you call up for an appointment. That triangulation, if you will, of process that's already taken care of 80% by signing up and getting the doctor, they have to go through that with their claims. So the amazing part here is that the vet has served. He was given the promise when he signed the contract. The vet has served. He gets hurt. Service connected, we're talking here. Okay? And then he is told he has to go prove it when he has the injury.
That is just so ridiculous. In the UK, if you have served, period, combat or otherwise, you can walk up to a military hospital, or your family members can, or make an appointment, and you will get served. You don't have to prove you're in the service. You have your service number that you got when you signed up in the first place that nobody ever forgets. Sure. That's all they need. They can look you up, and you get served.
I think at the end of the day, you really need to look at just use the service connected. Just use the fact that this federal government is trying to take over healthcare, period. Yet the 1% of our population that's served with their lives on the line, they can't even get right. So without editorializing on Obamacare, which we could spend, and we have
couple
years. Yeah. I think you just take a look at, what do we need to do, and what we need to do is we need to fix it. And how do we fix it? We offer a plan in here. We have a booklet at CVA called Fixing Veterans Healthcare, which you can get a copy of by going to cv4a.org, and you can download it.
Well, let's put this in front of the camera for a second here. Fixing Veterans Healthcare. Let me twist the right way. It's always more fun when you're doing this remotely.
We've had 2 summits on this in the state, one in Manchester and one up in Littleton. And I got to tell you, the one thing that came out of Littleton was the realization, as we were talking with all the vets, and we had some from White River Junction from the VA came over. It's important to note that the VA is not, it's not an enemy. It's actually part of the plan that we have in here. We're not privatizing. We're not taking away what people rely on. What we're saying is when the water's overflowing the glass, you need another glass. You need another option. If you're waiting over 90 days and you have a doctor that can take care of you, or as what came to being at the Littleton Summit was, if you're driving past the hospitals of the North Country to get to White River Junction, why can't you just pull in and go to that hospital? Mm-hmm. I mean, what is the secrets? The secret over at White River that the doctors in Littleton don't know. So, but again, there are people who have great service at the VA, and it's important to say we're actually trying to better preserve that option, because right now people aren't getting that option. Mm-hmm. They're waiting over 90 days for claims to be approved.
Well, first of all, I believe that people shouldn't have to wait at all beyond what it takes to get an appointment wherever they go. And I think we need to change the mission of the VA hospitals to deal with combat-related injuries and the psychiatric disorders that accompany those. In other words, stuff that's unique to veterans that they need special help with, and make sure that they're really good at that. And even then, make sure there are outside options available on whatever the
well, it occurs to me
that
if you have an outlet for the other stuff, then the VA can focus on what it should focus on, which is these kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's more, I'm trying to find the matrix that I wanted to illustrate here. I think what's more important It's just what you said is akin to the trap of VA choice, the choice card. A veteran is going to ask a bureaucrat for permission to go do what you and I and everybody in this room gets to do every day. Why? Why are we asking permission? Mm-hmm. There is a marketplace out there. There is a hospital down the street. Okay? And if you need to go, and we've given you the benefits for serving our country, then go. We don't need a permit. Now, if you want to, people like Al Baldessaro, one of our outspoken supporters, has said, get an ID or something. Okay, fine. If you want to, control fraud, we get an ID for being a member of the service. You show it, and then there's a billing location with VA. Mm-hmm. Okay, so Elliot sends a bill down to the VA. It says, we saw one of your vets. This is what we did. It's very simple. The VA choice requires that we belong part of a program. We have to have a card. You have to make sure it's an approved, doctor that the VA considers approved. Let's be clear. It's not that they need to be a licensed doctor because they all have to be licensed. It's that they have to be approved by the VA. And when at the summit that Senators Ayotte and Shaheen had with Jack Heath, the question was asked, can we get the list of facilities and doctors that are approved by the VA up on the website? You should have seen the bureaucrats. They didn't know what to do. They're like, I think, maybe, it's possible. And Jack is like, why wasn't this done, back in the day? I applaud.
Because they're incompetent, because they do everything on paper, so it seems, still in filing cabinets in the basement with a sign on the door saying beware of the leopard.
And I'm trying to be, and Steve knows me very well, I'm trying to be fair in order to frame an issue here, which is more important than any politics. It's so important that we either get it right or we're going to suffer the consequences of what kind of military we recruit. Because my son, if he were to, his grandfather, my father's now passed. I'm from a Navy family. He didn't get bad treatment, but if my son had seen how his grandfather was taken care of, and he had to wait 90 days and he had these horror stories, my son might not have gone into the tradition of being in the Navy. And that we have a couple of generations that have been in the Navy. Now, I haven't. I went to college, class of '89. My calling was to do campaigns, and I have been doing them since '92. In my defense or offense, I'm not really sure. But the fact is that I've had a lot of fun here in New Hampshire, doing what I believe and being able to do it every day. And this was really an honor to be tapped to try and find out what vets need and try to do what I can to affect change. But you guys, you do good work on, activating people's minds, on the show. So thanks. I really appreciate, us talking about this. And
and let's be clear, what I was saying was not in any way meant to favor the choice card. I believe that the veterans should be able to go wherever the heck they want.
No, you're right. Yeah.
And that I believe the actual veterans facility should concentrate on more military-related problems. And even then, you should have the ability to walk into the next hospital if they're not serving you.
Look, I think that the answer is more 50,000 foot. Everybody has to remember that in a marketplace, the agents of the service will perfect their niche in the market. We have to let the marketplace take hold. If the VA, in fact, will become the place where PTSD is studied, and they can use more, a more altruistic mission coming from, the people's purse rather than finding there is no market agent at the time. Okay, then maybe that's what happens. If, in fact, the VA becomes somebody who just processes the claims coming in from hospitals because that's what they want to be good at, they have to find how they partner with the outside market and let the market offer what it already does best. I mean, let's understand the concrete buildings that were built in 1921 because we did not have community health care. We did not have a system of hospitals. We had to give something to the doughboys who came back from World War I and coming back in masses like we've never seen before. So we had to build something. Marketplace wasn't there. We had to take care of them. Marketplace is there now. It's not only there, but for everybody else. They sign up when they join. Within 90 days, they get join an employer. Within 90 days, they get a network. They choose a doctor, and all they have to do now is they get sick. They call. They get. If you had to wait 2 weeks when you're coughing, just coughing, just general maintenance, you'd be up in arms. 90 days, we're telling people. Sometimes it's even worse than that.
All right, we're going to take a really short break. Stay tuned. This is Croc Talk.